Thank you for your time today. If we could maybe start just for anybody who doesn't know or maybe needs a quick refresh, just a brief introduction to your character and the kind of place that he's in going into the new season of The Great.
Anyway, yeah, so still drunk, still falling in love hopelessly with people who don't fall in love with him, and no idea what's happening to the leadership that he trusted so much. So the whole world is up in the air as usual in this series.
The series has always had a very specific, quite raucous tone. I was just wondering what's the experience like of being on set and conjuring that atmosphere? Does the kind of irreverence of the show ever kind of spill into real life on the set, or what's that experience like?
Yeah, I think there's a sort of mixture of trepidation and relish about what each episode is going to bring. I mean, nowadays in these sort of 10-hour, long series, there's writers' rooms and there's an element of improvisation about what's going to happen to the story. They see where you're going with something, how it's working, what the chemistry is between certain people. And I think there is an element where Tony McNamara is improvising, going, "Oh, let's just follow this even further," even though we have our sort of roots obviously planned out, what I think they call the Bible of the arc, as they say, of the character. So there's an element of, you never quite know whether you're going to be, naked, hanging upside down, juggling, or or unconscious, or whatever you're going to, and whoever you get to act with. And my character, of course, is a true clown, really. I mean, sort of Falstaff, larger-bodied alcoholic, and with a heart of gold, I think.
You mentioned McNamara's screenwriting, and it's incredibly precise and it's very razor sharp, I should say, throughout the whole thing. How vigorous is the preparation for kind of getting that right? How difficult is it? What are some of the challenges that come with really trying to be faithful to that very precise vision that he has?
Well, I think, we don't change any words at all. And I think there's a high percentage of the cast who have come from the world of theatre. Certainly myself, Adam, a lot of us have acted in theatre. So we're used to that, basing everything on text. It's not improvised, it's very clear. I think also with comedy, there needs to be a kind of discipline to the speed that you say the lines and how exactly you say them. And that, there's a sort of, so I think most of us are pretty used to that. And also we have Elle, who's just arrives with every line learnt and very, very prepared. So, the whole right from the top of the cast trickles down into everyone being very, very on it. But we don't veer from his words at all. I mean, there's someone there, if you decide to change a few, they'll step in and go, "Okay, Tony wrote this actually." And then you can have a little 3-minute discussion about whether what you think you're saying is better, which you generally lose that argument, I think.
Is that a method of, working that you particularly enjoy, or do you find it quite challenging?
I do enjoy it. As I say, if you come from theatre, more or less everything you do is from the text, that you become a sort of forensic examiner of the text. So you get the text and that's it. That's your entire world. That's all the information about your character and the other characters. And you don't stray from that. And then within that, there's a sort of jazz that you can play and room to maneuver. So I find that, pretty good. In some ways, if you come on and people are like, "I don't know what's going to happen here. We're just going to explore this." And you could end up, waffling and it not being as funny or not being as specific. So I do. I like that sort of structure.
When it comes to historical dramas, especially ones such as this, which kind of are self-awarely quite liberal with some of the historical detail, how much historical research do you personally do and undertake in the preparation, or for you, is it mainly just kind of trusting the script and your understanding of the character?
I do absolutely none. Because it's a kind of world that's created. Years ago I did Middlemarch and anything, the way we live now, these period pieces on television. And I realized that I could come on set clutching the novel, and say on page 73, he has his extra line where he says that. But really, a lot of that work has happened. And you're making a screenplay. So there's something about, let's just take this piece of work and make that work. And I also think in terms of period pieces, the only reason to do anything, period, especially like in the theater, if you're doing Shakespeare or Chekhov or anything, is if it's relevant to today. So if it's a way to be able to talk about Trump or vaccination or women's votes or rights or whatever, or, these sort of things, then that's why you're using that period. It's sort of easier to be able to discuss these big issues without making them clunky. And I think that's that. This series itself is a license to be able to do that. If it was just a sort of, this is exactly right to period, it's a very, very different thing that you're making. And I mean, we're not even in period dress. So it would be slightly boring for me to be going, no. And, 1747, I think you filed that the Russians started to wear these uniforms. It's just pointless, really. It's a launch pad for ideas.
And just speaking again about the show's kind of relatively loose approach to history in that sense, the show's tagline kind of wryly references this when it says, an occasionally true story. What for you is, either comedically or dramatically interesting about this kind of, slightly looser approach to historical storytelling?
Well, I've sort of answered that, I think it's actually an opportunity to really discuss all sorts of very, very modern issues. I mean, the episode we did last season about vaccination, just as we were launching into the pandemic, was sort of suddenly seemed incredibly up to the minute. So it's a sort of, license to be able to explore things. I mean, like all those period things are, really.
Well, it's been really great to speak to you. Just about out of time, but thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
That's you. All right.
Thank you very much.